Policy, policy, policy. Policy, policy, policy. Policy, policy, policy. Policy, policy, policy.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Joe Citizen Show. This is Roger Homefield. I am Joe Citizen, and so aren't we all. Well, Biden can't talk. Kamala won't talk. She hasn't had a press conference in the several weeks that she's been the nominee. But instead of a 2-year presidential rollout that we've all become accustomed to, she only has to hide for 90 days. So she's trying to run out the clock. Israel might feasibly not survive the next 4 months, nevertheless, the next 4 years under a Kamala Harris administration. Now, yes, I know that Biden sent the ships over there with a significant show of force to help defend Israel. But the fact of the matter is, left to her own devices, say with a victory in November, God forbid, Kamala Harris would implement an arms embargo to Israel, meaning Israel would die on the vine. So Israel is one American election away from not surviving. England is burning as backlash to Islamism taking over Britain has taken to the streets. And there is zero about this in the U.S. fake news. Nothing at all until today, this morning, Sunday morning. Maria Bartiromo interviewed Nigel Farage. He tells us that everything in the UK now is censored. The protesters are being falsely branded as far right, which is what they label anyone that criticizes the Muslim takeover in Europe. Now listen to this. The London police chief said they will be arresting those making social media posts supporting the protesters. Let's not overlook that London has had Sadiq Khan as its mayor for 8 years. And I've always viewed him as a cultural jihadist, and he's done a great job of that. Now, there are large numbers of riots across the country. In the UK, initially sparked by the murder of 3 young girls, but the underlying cause is that the English are rising up against Islamism, having been bullied, rousted, and beaten by Muslim Sharia patrols. That's right, Muslim patrols, right in London. No-go zones. Now swaths of Muslim areas are off limits to English citizens. They're being stripped of their English culture by Muslim migrants who never intended to assimilate to the English way of life. But the pro-British protesters, they're the ones being rounded up by police and not the rowdy Muslim crowds in what's being described as a 2-tiered police system. Sound familiar? And now, apparently, they'll be rounding up those who make social posts, such as this one. So if I were in London now, I would be arrested for doing this show. Some believe this could become a full-blown civil war, and not a single breath about it has been in the American news. Think about that. And we ourselves, we're only one election away from being in a similar boat. Now, we're going to have videos about London and on our next show with David Gobbitt's episode 4 ASAP. But there's something I need to get off my chest and get out of the way first. We're facing a 3-headed monster: worldwide communism, globalism, and worldwide Islamism. All 3 have only one thing in common. America is in their way. Specifically, President Trump. And I'm sorry to say it, folks, but Obama is the Pied Piper behind the curtain, leading a woke America down the road to enslavement by communist, globalist, and Islamist powers. Why would I be talking about Obama at this point in time instead of Kamala Harris or Mr. Walz? Well, simply put, I believe that Obama will be the one directing the policy of a Kamala Harris administration, just as he has been for the last 4 years and still is. Now, ex-presidents have always had the courtesy and the etiquette to leave town and get out of your face after their term. But Obama, he never did that. To the contrary, He bought an $8 million house just 2 miles from the White House, where he has been crafting the completion of his fundamental transformation. Now, I believe this regardless of what I'm about to tell you. So let's dive into what today's show is really all about, because it's my responsibility to reveal to you something I aired on the Joe Citizen radio show in 2010. It was one of those stories that was so bizarre and surreal that I had to cross-reference it many, many times. And so I can assure you that the main figure here, Tom Fife, is a real person, and his account of what he was told is very credible. In 2009, radio host Jeff Nyquist interviewed Tom Fife on his radio show, which you can still find online, as well as Tom Fife's letter. About 30,000 people, but mostly 10 years ago, have seen it, so you're not the first. But in 2009, the climate was such that anything negative about Obama's past was blown off as racist, right-wing conspiracy theories. But maybe now it's the time for a closer look. The story is about an event in 1992 before anyone knew anything about Obama. Tom Fife, F-I-F-E, was a computer engineer, physicist, and government contractor who had security clearance within the Department of Defense. He made frequent trips to Moscow because he was starting a software joint venture company with some people from the Russian scientific community. Now, I'm going to paraphrase to you and describe Tom Fife's account of what happened. One of the Russian businessmen invited everyone to his apartment for a farewell party before Tom Fife had to leave for the United States. It turned out that the Russian businessman's wife was strongly committed to the communist cause, and she was none too happy that the Soviet Union had been reduced back to Russia. As the evening wore on, the wife became increasingly agitated over what she perceived as a political slight to Russia, and her emotions spilled over. A patriotic nerve had been hit, and she was now going to vent. Quote, she said, "You Americans always like to think you have the perfect government and your people are always so perfect." She says, "Well, I think you're going to be surprised when you get a black president very soon," she said. "What if I told you that you will get a black president very soon and he will be a communist? Because you will, and he will be a communist." Well, one of us asked, it sounds like you know something we don't. "Yes, it's true," she replied. "This is not some idle talk. He's already born, and he's educated, and he's being groomed to be president right now. You will be impressed to know that he has gone to the best schools of presidents. He's what you call Ivy League," she said. "You don't believe me," she said, "but he is real, and I even have his name. His name is Barack. His mother is white and American, and his father is black from Africa." She became more and more smug as she presented her stream of detailed knowledge and predictions so matter-of-factly, as though all were foregone conclusions. She continued, "It's all been thought out. Her father is not an American black, so he won't have that social slave stigma. He's intelligent, and he is half white, and he's been raised from the cradle to be an atheist and a communist. He's gone to the finest schools. He's being guided every step of the way, and he will be irresistible to America." Now, she made it obvious that she thought this is going to be, that this is going to breathe new life into world communism. She was full of details about him that she was eager to relate. He was from Hawaii. He went to school in California. He lived in Chicago. He was soon to be elected to the legislature. "Have no doubt," she said, "he is one of us, a Soviet." Tom Fife then said, "Barack comes from the Arabic word for blessing. That seems to be an odd name for an American." She replied quickly, "Yes, it is. It's African," she insisted, "and he will be a blessing for world communism. We will regain our strength and become the number one power in the world." She said something to the effect that America was at the same time a great hope and also a great obstacle for communism. America would have to be converted to communism, and Barack was going to pave the way. Now, this conversation in 1992, it doesn't prove that Obama had Soviet communist training. Tom Fife can only testify this is what she said. But she and her communist associates certainly believed it, and they went through a whole lot of trouble acquiring a lot of information about someone who wasn't even going to run for state senator for another 3 years. The prediction stayed with Tom Fife upon his return to the United States, but he didn't think of it too often until he finally began to hear of a quickly rising political star named Barack Obama. Upon recalling the exact moment when he realized that the communist official had been telling the truth, Fife shakily admitted it was like an elastic band snapping all the way from 1992. It was a very, very, very scary feeling. Until his death, Tom Fife admitted that it deeply disturbed him about what comes next, now that he knew the prediction had come true. Now, this farewell party was in 1992. In 1995, Illinois State Senator Alice Palmer, a Soviet admirer who attended the 27th Communist Conference, introduced her chosen successor, Barack Obama, at the home of self-avowed communists and Weather Underground members Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dohrn. In 2004, Obama made his keynote address at the DNC and became president in 2008 with the pledge to fundamentally transform America. Of course, no one ever asked Obama what his fundamental transformation meant, what he was going to transform, and what he was going to transform it into. Fast forward to this election. If this country stumbles into the same playbook and allows Kamala to waltz into the White House without forcing out her policies out into the open, it will be 8 more years of Obama running this country. Given 8 years, this administration would yield our sovereignty to the United Nations and globalists. They will surrender our capitalism to socialism. They will submit our American culture and Judeo-Christian values to the Islamists. And Israel will become overrun. There will be no more free Western civilization. Don't get yourselves worked up over arguing with the TDS Trump derangement syndrome crowd over anecdotes and memes. Tell them if they can't talk policy, go take a hike. Remember, policy, policy, policy. Gee, you know, they talk about the California earthquake and the big one. Well, this election really is the big one, and we cannot blow it. We can't be steamrolled. We can't be bullied. We can't be outsmarted. And we can't be hoodwinked again by the media and the mob. You know, I just cringe to think of what we would all have to witness, what would be in store for America and our allies and the American dream. But I'm confident, I'm optimistic, and I'm confident that eventually Kamala will open her mouth and sink in the polls. However, with their devious tactics and this election interference media we have here, we cannot take our foot off the gas. So it's pedal to the metal, full court press. It's game 7, and we all need all hands on deck. No parent wants to live to see their child die. No patriot wants to live to see America die. We can never, ever allow that to happen. This is the Joe Citizen Show. I'm Roger Homefield. Thank you for being with us.
Bye-bye, so long, farewell. Bye-bye, so long. See you in November at the polls where we are gonna have our say. Better see you in November. Throw these fools away. Counting the days till we're rid of you. Counting the hours and the minutes too. Bye-bye, so long, farewell. Bye-bye, so long. Bye-bye, so long.